Let's open this meeting with a moment of silence, followed by a serenity prayer. Serenity prayer?
God, grant me serenity to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change things that I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Okay, I'm going to try to fill in for Robert tonight.
Who are you?
I'm Ken, and I'm an alcoholic. I'm going to try to fill in for Robert tonight and go over chapter 7, working with others. We're going to do it kind of like he do, a little bit of a review, and kind of get everybody up to date on where we at. In chapter 7, it talks about your experience in helping other people that's trying to recover from alcoholism. And it also talks about not trying to make them feel any different, just try to bring them up to date and not push them too fast. You know, when you're working with others, you can only do a little bit at a time with them. You don't want to get them going too fast. That discourage them from staying and working on themselves. We're going to go back to page 89, and she's going to read for us tonight. So,
okay. Perhaps you're not acquainted with any drinkers who want to recover. You can easily find some by asking a few doctors, ministers, priests, or hospitals. They will be only too glad to assist you. Don't start out as an evangelist or reformer. Unfortunately, a lot of prejudice exists. You will be handicapped if you arouse it. Ministers and doctors are competent, and you can learn much from them if you wish. But it happens that because of your own drinking experience, you can be uniquely useful to other alcoholics. So cooperate, never criticize. To be helpful is our only aim.
okay. It just tells us not to, just like I just said a few minutes ago, not to go too fast with them. Try to share your experience, strength, and hope. And also you can rely on other people to help out, like doctors, and ministers, other recovering alcoholics, people in the program. What we know about people that's trying to get clean, they can take the wrong message. If you're taking them too fast, they'll get the wrong message and not understand where you're trying to go with this. It's really important that, from my experience working with other people, and I've been around for a while, that you have to be careful what you say, because you can say the wrong thing. If you give the wrong message, they'll take it the wrong way, and then sometimes it causes people to relapse. Sometimes it causes them to do other stuff, but just taking your time and try to explain what you're talking about, and it will help them better understand. It says right here, perhaps you're not acquainted with any drinkers who want to recover. You can easily find some by asking a few doctors, ministers, priests, or hospitals. They would only be too glad to assist you. Don't start out as an evangelistic or reformer. Unfortunately, a lot of prejudice exists. And that's what I was talking about, taking them too fast, they'll take it the wrong way. I'm sure somebody else can kind of help me out with this, so if anybody want to jump in, feel free to jump right in. Also, it talks about you can learn much from them if you wish, but it happens that's because of your drinking. But if it happens, that's because of your drinking experience. You need to be useful to other alcoholics. So cooperate, never criticize. To be helpful is our only aim. So it's real important to try to be useful to them. A lot of times people ask questions like, well, how you know I'm an alcoholic? What make you think I got a drinking problem? We can easily answer that by looking at people and seeing the stuff that they do. We automatically know that they got a drinking problem and they're alcoholics. But it's real hard for some of us to admit that we have a problem. And I can use myself as an example. When I first came around, I knew I had a problem, but I didn't think my problem was that bad. You know, I thought that if I come in and get a few pounds and a few dollars in my pocket, that I'll be all right. But that experience taught, you know, as I got here, and I listened to other people share their experience with some hope, then I knew right away that I had more than just a drinking problem and a drug problem, that I had other social skills that I needed to work on. My living arrangement was really bad because I was homeless. Other things that I was trying to do that I really didn't know what I was doing. You know, one of the things that I had problems with was trying to help other people, was I could solve your problem, but I couldn't solve my problem. Right. You know, I could fix you, and you'll be all right for the moment, but I'll suffer that night. Because the same thing that you were going through, I was going through too. So it's really important to, you know, to try to do this thing the right way. Yeah, go ahead.
When you discover a prospect for Alcoholics Anonymous, find out all you can about him. If he does not want to stop drinking, don't waste time trying to persuade him. You may spoil a later opportunity. This advice is given for his family also. They should be patient, realizing they're dealing with a sick person.
Okay, that's another thing that we have to be careful about, trying to make somebody else stop. You know, I can remember from my own experience that I didn't never stop until I got ready. I mean, people had told me many a times that, you know, you need to go up there and get your act together, and, you know, something wrong with you, and, well, sure enough, something was wrong with me, but I just wasn't ready, you know. And the book tells us that alcoholic who drinks won't stop till you're ready to stop. You know, you have to be beaten down and all these other things before you're ready to really stop. So, you know, it's really important that we don't push people, because it says right here, if you does not want to stop drinking, don't waste time trying to persuade them. You may spoil a late opportunity. You know, later on, the person might want to come on his own and get clean. You know, so don't beat him down with that. Go ahead.
If there is any indication that he wants to stop, have a good talk with the person most interested in him, usually his wife. Get an idea of his behavior, his problems, his background, the seriousness of his condition, and his religious leaning. You need this information to put yourself in his place, to see how you would like him to approach if the table was turned.
Okay, that was another one too, trying to stop for other people. You know, trying to stop for my sister and my wife and my job. You know, I can remember I was in the treatment center, and they was trying to tell me that, you know, the stuff that I was doing was no good for my recovery. You know, even though I was in the treatment center, I was still trying to give my wife some money who was not in treatment, who was still using. Mm-hmm. You know, and they would tell me, you just a fool. But you know, hey, you don't know what you're talking about. You know, I know what I'm doing. Mm-hmm. But in the end, they proved me wrong. Mm-hmm. You know, in the end, she proved me wrong, really. You know, because I was trying to help her and she was getting worse. So they told me, if you got that much desire to help her, won't you go out there with her? And they put me out. See, and I learned from that. I learned that, you know, if somebody don't want to get clean, leave them alone. Just let them, you know, when they get ready, they'll show up. You know, don't keep wasting your time trying to help them, because it hurts you. And they wind up hurting me. And it took me another 7.5 years to get back to the treatment. 7.5 years. That's a long time to be out there using, running around like a chicken with his head cut off, and, you know, not knowing what my next meal was going to be, sleeping on the bridges, all of this kind of stuff. So it was real difficult not wanting to hear the truth.
Sometimes it is wise to wait till he goes on a binge. The family may object to this, but unless he is in a dangerous physical condition, it is better to risk it. Don't deal with him when he is very drunk, unless he is ugly and the family needs your help. Wait for the end of the spree or at least for a elusive interval. Then let his family or a friend ask him if he wants to quit for good and if he would go to any extreme to do so. If he says yes, then his attention should be drawn to you as a person who has recovered. You should be described to him as one of a fellowship who, as part of their own recovery, try to help others and who would be glad to talk to him if he cares to see you.
But we all know trying to talk to somebody using, they ain't gonna listen. You know, they have their own ideas and ways and thoughts of what's gonna happen, so that part of the book is real important, because I know when I was using, I didn't listen to nothing nobody told me. So, you know, it's real difficult to listen to somebody when you're using, so you just have to go through what you need to go through, and hopefully you'll come out on the other side in the right frame of mind. Just go on and read all the way down to,
If he does not want to see you, never force yourself upon him. Neither should the family historically plead with him to do anything, nor should they tell him much about you. They should wait for the end of his next drinking bout. You might place this book where he can see it in the interval. Here, no specific rules can be given. The family must decide these things, but urge them not to be over anxious, for that might spoil the matter. Usually, the family should not try to tell your story. When possible, avoid meeting a man through his family. Approach through a doctor or institution is a better bet. If your man needs hospitalization, he should have it, but not forcibly unless he is violent. Let the doctor, if he will, tell him he has something in the way of a solution.
okay. So we all know about people when they get violent and, you know, trying to do stuff that you try to help them. But one of the most important things that I know that didn't help me was people caretaking me. You know, well, he'll be all right. Just leave him alone. You know, he ain't doing nothing to nobody. But, you know, in reality, I was doing something to somebody myself. I was killing myself. You know, and one of the sayings I heard when I first got clean was, if somebody else did to me what I did to myself, I'd kill them. You know, and I would. You know, because I know what I did to me. I did a lot of damage to my body. I'm just grateful to God I came out on the other side with a little bit of my brain left. You know, I know a lot of people that don't have it. You know, they still suffering from that last hit. And I'm just grateful that the last drink I took didn't kill me. And so it's important that don't let your family decide your fate. Because they doing what they do, they dealing with the heart. They're not dealing with your mind, they dealing with how they feel about you. You know, they want to see you be all right, and they think you go to church and you do this and you do that, you're going to be okay. But it's more to that than, you know, it's more to it than that. So we have to realize that sometimes we need to be going to hospital. A lot of people think it's, you know, find it strange when you tell them that, you know, you've been in an institution. I ain't been in no institution, I'm not crazy. Think about it. Think about what you did. Then you got your answer. You're definitely crazy. You know I was crazy. Okay, we're going to go on down to the bottom, and then we're going to start on the days, what we're going to do for the day.
When your man is better, the doctor might suggest a visit from you. Though you have talked with the family, leave them out of the first discussion. Under these conditions, your prospect will see he is under no pressure. He will feel he can deal with you without being nagged by his family. Call on him while he is still jittery. He may be more receptive when depressed. See your man alone if possible. At first, engage in general conversation. After a while, turn the talk to some phrase of drinking. Tell him enough about your drinking habits, symptoms, and experiences to encourage him to speak of himself. If he wishes to talk, let him do so. You will thus get a better idea of how you ought to proceed. If he is not communicative, give him a sketch of your drinking career up to the time you quit. But say nothing for the moment of how that was accomplished. If he is in a serious mood, dwell on the trouble liquor has caused you. being careful not to moralize or lecture. If his mood is light, tell him humorous stories of your escapades. Get him to tell some of his.
Okay, so I think everybody kind of pretty much up to date where we was last week. That was part of the lesson from last week when we started on chapter 7, working with others. And it pretty much tell us what we need to do when we're trying to work with newcomers or people that's trying to get clean. We just got to remember that we can't be too fast with them, can't be too pushy. Let's take our time, allow them to have some input into this, because after all, they come to just get clean for themselves, not for us. So they got to have the willingness themselves. You take people too fast in this stuff and they'll turn around and just leave. And I done seen it happen many times. You know, people don't want to be pushed into nothing. So, you know, when they do it for themselves, they're better off. Okay, we're going to go on to the next paragraph.
When he sees you know all about the drinking game, commence to describe yourself as an alcoholic. Tell him how bountiful you were, how you finally learned that you were sick. Give him an account of the struggle you made to stop. Show him the mental twist which leads to the first drink of a spree. You suggest you do this as we have done it in the chapter on alcoholism. If he is alcoholic, he will understand you at once. He will match your mental inconsistencies with some of his own.
Okay. It says when you see he knows all about drinking game, commence to describe yourself as an alcoholic. And that was kind of hard for me in the beginning too, to tell somebody I was alcoholic. You know, I knew, like I said, I knew I had a problem, but I had never admitted that before. And once I admitted that, it felt like a whole burden of some type came off of me. And I felt better about myself, you know. So I know when you explain it to somebody that's trying to get clean, let them know that you're an alcoholic and what you've been through, it helps them tremendously. Because it don't make them feel like they're in the wrong place. It make them feel like they're at home and they're welcome. You know, it's real important that when people are new in this program that you kind of reach out, try to help them. I have been in meetings where newcomer wanted to share and people told them, sit down, sit up. You don't know what the hell you're talking about. You know, and it made them feel bad. And in some cases they got up and left and went and got high. You know, so it's important not to treat people like they're nothing. Treat people like they're something. The more you reach out and try to help them, the better off they'll be. And the better off that you can be with helping them. It also says, tell them how bountiful you were. You know, and what it means right there is just share some of your experience about when you came around, how things were for you. You know, when I came around, I didn't want to follow no rules. You know, I still had all that street in me. I didn't want to do what people told me. You know, but they told me real quick, you don't have to do what we tell you, you can leave. But I didn't want to go back out there. You know, I know what pain was waiting on me out there, so I had to learn that sometimes you have to do what people tell you to do. And to give him an account of the struggle you made to stop. Show him the mental twist which leads to the first drink. And those are some of the things that'll lead you back on the sprees, you know. Not having no willingness, not understanding what people are saying to you, not being open-minded enough to hear the message of recovery. You know, there's a lot of things can go wrong in the first 2 or 3 days in recovery. You know, because a lot of times people think you're picking on them. You know I thought people were picking on me. And they really was reaching out trying to help me. See, I didn't have enough understanding of what I was getting myself into to know that, you know, just because somebody talk a little tough to me, that don't mean they don't like me. And I learned more from people that talk tough to me in this program than I did from people that was always patting me on the back. Okay.
If you're satisfied that he is a real alcoholic, begin to dwell on the hopeless feature of the malady. Show him from your own experience how the queer mental conditions surrounding that first drink prevents normal functioning of the willpower. Don't at this stage refer to this book unless he has seen it and wishes to discuss it. And be careful not to brand him as an alcoholic. Let him draw his own conclusion. If he sticks to the idea that he can still control his drinking, tell him that probably he can if he is not too alcoholic. But insist that if he is severely afflicted, there may be little chance he can recover by himself.
Okay, this is the most stuff that's really important. I know when after I was here for a while, people started talking about book studies and getting a book and read the book and all this. And you know, my understanding of that was just get the book and read it. You know, then you're gonna work some. You know, but it's more to that than just picking up the book, reading it. And then, you know, they started hollering about work the step. Well, I hadn't even learned how to stay in a meeting through the whole meeting yet. You know, so I know I couldn't work no steps right away. I had to learn how to go in the meeting. You know, when you're new in recovery, you come in the meeting, you sit down, and every 5 minutes you get up. You're gonna get some coffee, going to the bathroom, in and out. You're in the back talking with people who ain't listening and this type of thing. Disrupting the meeting. So I had to learn all of these things first. I had to learn that I need to come in the meeting and sit down, sit up front, listen up and shut up. I had to learn all of that because I didn't know that. You know, I was still caught up in, like I said, I was still caught up in them street ways, in and out, up and down. You know how we do me out there. We running around all over the place. Ain't going nowhere. You know, so you have to learn that when you come in recovery too. You know, to learn how to sit down and be still. And not just disrupt the meeting. Because you ain't listening, maybe somebody else is. So I had to learn all of that stuff. And then it also talks about be careful not to brand people as alcoholics, whatever they are, you know, give them a chance to be what they want to be. Come on.
Hey, friend, my name is James, and I'm a real alcoholic.
Hey, James.
And this chapter, working with others, you know, I definitely can identify with this, and also what you were saying about your sponsor, because when we get here, we don't want to listen to nobody. I didn't, and my sponsor, I was having problems, and I asked him about a situation I was going through, and when he gave me the answer, you know, I stopped working with him because, you know, I didn't want him running my business. Yeah, but right here, you know, this book, you know, in the first paragraph, it tells us that we should show him the mental twist which leads to the first drink of a spree. And then in the next paragraph, in the middle, it says how to quit mental conditions surrounding the first drink prevent normal function of all the power. And right there in those two paragraphs, it's letting us know about the mental obsession. And when I got here, and I found out about the mental obsession, that strange mental obsession that led me to taking that first drink, is when I actually knew that I might have a chance. But before I found out about the mental obsession and the allergy that accompanied it, it was no chance in the world that I was going to be able to stop drinking. But when I found that out, I said, that's what's happening to me. You know, every Friday, that's what happened to me. That mental obsession. I go get one and it's on. You know? Thank y'all for letting me share.
Thank you, James. Anybody else? Anything you want to add? Okay, let's go to the next paragraph.
Okay. Continue to speak of alcoholism as an illness, a fatal malady. Talk about the condition of body and mind which accompany it. Keep his attention focused mainly on your personal experience. Explain that many are doomed who never realize their predicament. Doctors are rightly loath to tell alcoholic patients the whole story unless it will serve some good purpose. But you may talk to him about the hopelessness of alcoholism because you offer a solution. You will soon have your friend admitting he has many, if not all, of the traits of the alcoholic. If his own doctor is willing to tell him that he is alcoholic, so much the better. Even though your protege may not have entirely admitted his condition, he has become very curious to know how you got well. Let him ask you that question, if he will. Tell him exactly what happened to you. Stress the spiritual feature freely. If the man be agnostic or atheist, make it emphatic that he does not have to agree with your conception of God. He can choose any conception he likes, provided it makes sense to him. The main thing is that he be willing to believe in a power greater than himself and that he live by spiritual principles.
Okay, it said continue to speak of alcoholism as an illness and a fatal malady, which is a disease, you know, the disease of alcoholism. And you have to let the person understand that alcohol will kill you. You know, a lot of people think alcohol only just, you know, mellow you out or whatever, but it eats up the inside of your body. Alcohol do a lot of damage. A lot of damage to your body. It'll kill you. Simple as that. So, you know, you got to let the person know that, you know, what they're doing will kill you. You talk about conditions of the body and the mind. It also affects your mind. It affects your thinking, your decision to make good decisions, you know. So, you know, you got to really know what this stuff do to you. And it also talks about keeping his attention focused on mainly on your personal experience. Explain that many are doomed who never realize their predicaments. And that's the same thing. People don't really know what's going on, don't know how this stuff will kill you. It affects you in many different ways. Some of us go out into a club, get drunk, jump in a car, and take like you drive, best drive in the world. Go out and hit two or three. I was looking on the news the other day about this guy that was asleep in traffic. He was dead asleep. Somebody woke him up, and he just took off. Hit by 4 or 5 cars, then jumped out and ran up in the woods. You know, that's the kind of stuff we do. That's the kind of stuff alcoholics do. And the pro man don't know what kind of trouble he done got himself in. He's in some serious trouble. Hit and run. I don't know whether nobody got hurt or nothing like that, but I mean, he just woke up and just took off. Then he wasn't even thinking. See, that's the kind of stuff that alcohol do to you. You don't think, you just do it. Okay, and then it said, doctors are rightly loath to tell alcoholic patients the whole story. See, they don't tell you all the time what alcohol do to you. I done seen people walk around here when I first got clean. There was a couple guys used to be out in front of the meeting at the Cup. I don't know if any of y'all familiar with the Cup. Used to be up on Peachtree Street. And there was 2 guys that used to be out in front of that meeting every Sunday. And they just came to get the donuts and coffee, which was fine. You know, if you could just get them in the meeting, get the donuts and coffee, maybe one day they'll sit down and listen to the message. And they was drinkers. I mean, these guys was drunk every day. And they were drinking everything, cough syrup, mouthwash, anything that had alcohol in it. And they were just, you know, and then they would find their way down here to this thrift store. And you know the story. They'd be tore up from the floor up, then went to the bathroom on themselves. You know, you can see them coming. We try to run out and stop them before they get in here. Because we know if they come in the building, it's just chaos. Everybody going to be ready to go out because the smell would just run everybody out the door. You know, and they didn't even know how alcohol and all this other stuff they were doing was destroying their bodies like that. That's how alcohol do, you know. You know, it affects your mind, it affects your body, and then pretty soon it'll kill you. Okay, and then it's down here at the bottom, it says, you will soon have your friends admitting he has many, if not all of the traits of alcoholism. If his own doctor is willing to tell him that he's an alcoholic, so much the better. Even though your protege may not have entirely admitted his condition, he has become very curious to know how you got well. And that's what comes from sharing your experience, faith, and hope, and your story with other people that'll give them the opportunity or maybe the courage to come in and try to get clean. And that's what some of the things that happened with me. I heard other people sharing their stories in the meeting, And I couldn't believe that they did all that stuff they did and they were still here. You know, but when I look back at some of the stuff I did, I don't know how I'm still here. 'Cause I did a lot of stuff that most people would have died from doing. Or somebody would have killed me. You know, one of the things that I always share with people that when I was out there, nobody didn't want to be around me no way because they said I was crazy. But you couldn't get me to admit that. But you know, today I can look back and say that I truly was crazy. It's just by the grace of God that I made it here. Okay, and if he would tell exactly what happened to you, stress the spiritual features freely. If the man be agnostic, atheist, make it emphatic that he does not have to agree with your concept of God. That's important also. You know, a lot of people come here and don't believe in God, and some of the things we do in here is we get them the wrong message. You know, we try to put our God on them. They don't want no part of God. They just want to get clean, and they don't know. The only way they know how to get clean is their own particular way. Now, if somebody got some, can help me on that, explain about atheists and agnostics, please feel free to do so.
Hello, family. My name is Esther. I am a recovering alcoholic.
Hey,
It says stress the spiritual feature freely. If the man is agnostic, that means or anti-knowledge. They believe in God, but they really don't know enough about God. And atheists, they don't believe in God at all. Make it emphatic that he does not have to agree with your conception of God. They don't. I know for me, when I came in, you know, I knew about God. I went to church and everything, but when I came in and I kind of struggled with it a lot because I was doing everything that I wasn't supposed to do. Anyway, they said I was an agnostic because I knew the word, but I wasn't doing what the word say do. It was like me and the person that don't believe in God, we walking hand in hand because I believe, but not doing what God told me to do, and then the other person just don't believe in God at all. So, you know, my sponsor suggested I follow some good oily direction. So when I started following some good oily direction, it gave me enough time to get sober long enough to actually feel the Spirit of God within. And then when you go back to page 55, they said on every man, boy, and girl, they have some concept of God. It may be obscured by calamity, you know, all of the junk that we kind of grew up with, all of the misunderstanding that we may have grew up with. Worshiping money and cars and houses, you know, worshiping other stuff versus worshiping that spirit that's inside of us and praying, you know, to the God of our understanding. So, you know, that's what, for me, what it means, that the agnostic, you know, anti-knowledge of God, and the atheist don't believe at all. And then you have the believer that believe is still not doing what God would have them to do.
I'm Charles. I'm a basically cutting that off.
Hey,
Charles.
Charles.
When I got here, I knew it was God, but I thought he was punishing me for all the wrong that I done. You know what I'm saying? And he didn't want nothing to do with me. You know, good thing I had a good sponsor. He said, you know something, Charles? All that you did out there, if God wasn't with you, you'd been dead. Because some of the traps you went in, some people didn't make it out. They didn't. Some of the liquor houses I went in, some people didn't make it out, you know. And the way I carried myself, I didn't supposed to make it out. So I had to have a God, you know. And he just said the same thing like Esther said, Charles, find some good order direction. I said, I can do that very well, you know. And I started finding some good order direction. And I looked back on my life and I said, God was there with me then. I know he's with me now, you know, and he's still with me, you know. He's a loving God. So my own concept, my God is loving. Not my mother God, my granddaddy God, my uncle God. If you do this, you're going to hell. My God is forgiving, you know. He had to forgive me for all the stuff I done. Thank y'all for letting me share.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you.
You know, part of what you just said was just how I was when I got here. I came here mad with God. can remember when my mother got real sick, and I prayed. I got on my knees and prayed, God, please let my mother make it. Please don't take her away from me. And she died. So I was mad. I was real angry. And, you know, I was upset a long time about why would God just run out on me and let my mother die. But, you know, it took me some years to really get in touch with that. And when I got in touch with it, everything came so clear. You know, first of all, he didn't leave you. He didn't take your mother away. He put her in a better place. He stopped all her suffering. You know, and I had to get in touch with all that stuff because, see, I didn't see that then. All I seen is he done took my mother away from me. And how can I believe in him? Because I prayed and all this, and then he didn't help me and didn't answer none of my prayers. You know, but he did answer my prayer. He stopped all the pain and suffering. And that was really what my whole prayer was all about, stop all her pain and suffering. You know, but I still wanted her to be here. But today I know I didn't want her to be here. Suffering, you know. Okay.
When dealing with such a person, you had better use everyday language to describe spiritual principles. There is no use arousing any prejudice he may have against certain theological terms and conceptions about which he may already be confused. Don't raise such issues, no matter what your own convictions are.
This one is really good because, you know, it's real easy for you to try to, you know, people always about trying to trap me in and get into these religion type of discussions. And I always try to stay out of it because, you know, what you believe in is your belief. What I believe in is my belief. You know, we might not believe in the same thing. You know, so that's fine when you're dealing with newcomers. You can't tell them to believe in something that they don't believe in. You can only offer it to them and try to show them what you do. You know, or try to get them some kind of understanding of what's going on. See, because a lot of times you can lead people down the wrong road. You forcing yourself or forcing your beliefs on somebody else can really screw them up. Okay?
Your prospect may belong to a religious denomination. His religious education and training may be far superior to yours. In that case, he's going to wonder how you can add anything to what he already knows. But he will be curious to learn why his own convictions have not worked and why yours seem to work so well. He may be an example of the truth that faith alone is insufficient. To be vital, faith must be accompanied by self-sacrifice and unselfish, constructive action. Let him see that you're not there to instruct him in religion. Admit that he probably knows more about it than you do, but call to his attention the fact that however deep his faith and knowledge, he could not have applied it or he would not drink. Perhaps your story will help him see where he has failed to practice the very precepts he knows so well. We represent no particular faith or denomination. We're dealing only with general principles common to most denominations.
Okay, this is another one. Your prospect may belong to a religious denomination. His religious education and training may be far superior to you. And in that case, he's going to wonder how you can tell him and add anything to what he's already know. That was me. That was some of the stuff I dealt with when I was here. You know, I thought I knowed everything and didn't know nothing. So how can anybody tell me something if they don't? If I, you know, I already know everything, and I learned right then. That's when you need. That's when one of the counselors told me. So you know what? You're a good guy and everything. You working on yourself, but you need to learn how to shut up. You know, cause you always have to have the last word. And having the last word has caused me many problems. You know, because if I'm always talking and having the last word, that means I don't hear nothing you say. You know, I'm not listening to nothing nobody else saying, so that means it's very difficult to get a message across to me. So that's real important in here, you know. And, you know, with the egos that some of us have, well, I know what I have, How could anybody else tell me anything anyway? You know. So it says it right here. You know, you may off myself again. But anyway, it talks about you know, somebody in another type of religion that might know more about religion than you do. You know, how can you tell them anything? Anybody want to comment on that?
My name is Ethel, recovering alcoholic.
Yeah.
Also, you know, this person that knows everything because they've been in religion and all of that, and I was one of those that knew everything, knew the Bible, knew the Word, knew a lot of scriptures, but I wasn't living none of them.
Yeah.
And so that's what the book is saying, that, you know, we can have all the faith we want, but if we're not doing the work, it's not working. I mean, if we do the things that the Word tell us to do, we wouldn't, you know, because it already say, the strange wine, you know, not to be, you know, indulging in wine, in being intoxicated. And here we get something and put in our bodies that's going to intoxicate us. And I mean, the Bible already tell us different things that if we indulge a lot in intoxication, you know, what it's going to do to us. But I didn't pay attention to that, and that's the Word, that's the religion. So, you know, somebody in the program trying to tell us, you know, how this program works. And faith without works is dead. Those are words that we heard even in all of the religion. But if we're not doing the work, that's one of the reasons why it's not working. I say perhaps your story will help him see where he has failed to practice the very precept he knows so well. Thanks for letting me share.
Thank you for sharing. Come on, John.
I had a friend who was a preacher at one time, and he said he was constantly going back out again and drinking, and he was having a problem getting the whole program. And it's really got a lot to do with humility, because you could hardly, you know, he would talk over you when you were talking to him, and he was doing a lot of that talking, like you were saying, and not enough listening. So this whole program has a lot to do with listening and humility. That's in my case.
Okay.
Hello, family. I'm James, and I'm a real alcoholic.
Hey, James.
I want to thank him for bringing that up, because since I've been here, I've had 2 ministers sponsored. I sponsored 2 ministers, and every time they get to the 4th step, they always quit. And it's because of their ego. They don't want to do the work. They don't want to look at themselves, and they go back. And so I'm going back to the church, you know, and work this out. And that's one of the things that make us different from most people. You know, we look at ourselves and get down to the root cause of the disease. And they will not humble themselves, because God's going to fix them. But he can't fix them, you know, because they're not going to get the garbage out of them. They don't want to get the garbage out of them.
And it also goes back to what the book said in there. You know, they might know more about religion than you do, and think you can't tell them nothing.
Right.
See, and they really hurting themselves with that. And the same thing with us and them. We think we know more about getting clean than the person that's been here 25 years. Anybody else? Okay, we're gonna go ahead with this last paragraph, and then we're gonna do a question and
It say outline the program of action, explaining how you made a self-appraisal, how you straightened out your path, and why you are now endeavoring to be helpful to him. It is important for him to realize that your attempt to pass this on to him plays a vital part in your own recovery. Actually, he may be helping you more than you helping him. Make it plain he is under no obligation to you, that you hope only that he will try to help other alcoholics when he escapes his own difficulties. Suggest how important it is that he place the welfare of other people ahead of his own. Make it clear that he is not under pressure, that it may, okay, that he's not under pressure, that he needn't see you again if he doesn't want to. You should not be offended if he wants to call it off, for he has helped you more than you have helped him. If your talk has been sane, quiet, and full of human understanding, you have perhaps made a friend. Maybe you have disturbed him about the questions of alcoholism. This is all to the good. The more hopeless he feels, the better. He will be more likely to follow your suggestion.
Okay, well, I hope that what we share here tonight has helped somebody. I hope that what I shared helped somebody. You know, this is my first time doing a big book. So I mostly did Narcotics Anonymous big book. So this was something new for me, but I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I hope you did too. You did a good job. Thank you.
Thank you, Ken.